Sandhu to the podium. He's the CEO of Live Building Systems. They're a software company innovating new utility management and cloud-based smart building system software. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. First of all, thank you for Building Energy Exchange, for inviting us to come and give a conversation. It's been a while since I actually been here, but I remember a lot of the early times kind of walking around here. And, you know, I'm a medical doctor, so I'm not an engineer by my background. I kind of sometimes feel a little bit like an outsider, but that's what it took to kind of build Live Building Systems from a couple of buildings to approximately like 7,000 buildings today that span India, Europe, and the United States. Today, basically, we'll go through like a few little projects, and then, you know, when I used to come here and I felt like an outsider, I used to think about like the energy question, why I started this. Why did I go from performing surgery into like buildings? The Left Rack City project, which I'll go through, when we installed 338 2-inch water meters on TP copper, I'm a medical surgeon. And at 4 in the morning, when the J line didn't have water, I was in there holding a pipe with 2 plumbers. That was in 2015. And I remember those things, but I loved it. I loved talking to every single one of those residents. I loved trying to help them. I loved fixing their leaks. I love talking to the ownership about trying to save money in the environment and making the buildings better. So that's why I got involved. And over that time period, Live Buildings, what we did was we said, things are complicated. Local ID4 sounds simple to us, but things are complicated. And in medicine, things are also complicated, right? But if you take that complexity and make it simple, right? What is really the human body and heart all about? Well, it's about pressure. Gravity, plumbing, it's the same thing, and that's what I kind of applied to Live Buildings. These are some of the recent projects we've had. We work a lot with affordable housing, you know, things like Enterprise Green, things like 4.4 sub-metering. You'll see PRC Complex. That one was an offshoot. You know how that got to me? Savoy Park. If anybody remembers Fairstead, Savoy Park, back when Will Blodgett was involved in it, they had a big change on their water, electricity, and their fuel. And we were the backbone of that change. We saved them $1 million year one there. So the same people at PRC said, hey, why don't you take a look at the Boulevard Complex, see what we can do. This one's an interesting one. A few years ago at PRC, I bought the original AMR system of New York City. The little black, if any of you guys are in basements, you'll see a little black box. It's called the Reactel box. I bought that company. So what was going on here in PRC, there was 2 water meters that were actually the same type of water meter, but different models. And the DEP had 1 meter right, they had 1 meter wrong. And they were telling these people for the past 5 to 10 years that they were using 100x water amount, 100x. So that was a little billing mystery that we solved there. The other things, 1500 Noble, this one, birth off the Left Rack City and the Live Riser project. I think people remember or know who Krista Eager is. I didn't know who Krista was when she came to me in 2014, 2015 and said, what are you doing on this water stuff? I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to save leaks. I said, here's a login. Here's a bunch of buildings. Check it out. I didn't know what Enterprise Green was. I had no idea. No idea. I was in Italy with my wife at the time on vacation and said, these people are calling me, I gotta have this meeting. And she took that, and you can look at 4.4 sub-metering, and their branch metering cold water complexes. That's a similar project of Left Rack City right there. Noble Avenue, again, a lot of saving in water. Water does have a carbon footprint. I was talking to one of my colleagues here about it. Because of the work we do in India, it's a very interesting debate to talk about, is India's water carbon footprint higher than the United States? Very debatable because they use groundwater and they use gray water for their plumbing systems, and we use potable drinking water. So when you have running toilets in your buildings, when you have leaks on your irrigation, when CMU, Carnegie Mellon, which is a client of ours, and the Bill and Melinda Gates building uses 50,000 gallons of water to irrigate a lawn in a day, that has a carbon footprint. So here's Sendero Verde. A lot of people like this project. A lot of people talk about it. This one, L&M, good friends of ours. And one of the projects, again, where we supply the electric sub-metering backbone of the system, integrated with the Dakin systems, and also the riser system for leak detection. And the greatest thing is that, one of the things I found is that this thing's really important, right? So basically, when you have a leak or you have a thermostat that's going crazy, who's gonna make the change for you? Is it gonna be your sustainability manager sitting in a skyscraper? It's gonna be the super. It's gonna be your on-site staff. And if they don't understand it, you're not fixing it. So that was what we really looked at buildings and why we have a 99% client retention rate and why people like L&M related, you talk about Lefrak, JLL, Jonathan Rose, Hudson Companies, Rose Associates, we can go on, A&E, Chestnut, all of them. So what we look at, and I'll try to be as fast as I can be. So I said, I like to talk to everybody, feel like an outsider, feel like we talk about buildings a lot of times. So the local laws focus on the total. We focus on the total building, as we should. But what I really was interested in is, what about all the people inside the buildings? I gave a talk, AIA talk, right? That's American Institute of Architecture, at Carnegie Mellon for Stephen Lee, who's the former head there. And I said, what if the buildings in architecture were not only active and energy efficient, but what about the people interacting with them? What about the tenants? What can we do? So we took a look at, and we kind of think about software, and I'm a child of the 80s, if that dates myself. I remember Apple IIe, and I remember, Windows 95, and I remember all the different hardware. And I remember that they made this really simple for everybody to use. You didn't need a degree to use this. They made it really simple. So I said, how do we invite the 98% of the population into the energy question? How do we get them going? So one, we started building a sub-metering foundation. I think that goes across the board in the United States. In other countries like India, they're doing it. That's electric, water, fuel, BTUs. That's very important. Green button. Green button is very important as well. That's a data sharing system that a lot of people use. And then it was the democratization of utility data. What that means is that we believe that people need to see information to be able to do something about it. And what I did, and it's taken a long time, we have the enterprise side, that's for buildings, and then we have Live Footprint. And Live Footprint's whole idea is that I believe it's a challenge to tell anybody in New York City on a demand event day to turn off their electricity. And I believe that tenants need to be incentivized. So what we did was create Live Building Systems, Live Footprint, so that it gave power to the user. You can download it today. It does something called Joules reward system. You get cash back for it. And basically what we're saying is, if you save energy, if you save water, if you save fuel, we're gonna help you do that, and we're gonna incentivize you to do it. So that is from buildings into people, what Live Building Systems was all about. Thank you.